It is noteworthy that the percentage of women who register to vote and cast a ballot is consistently higher than the percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line. Oh, I'm in trouble.
I promise you Republicans in here, and I hope I'm wrong, that the remainder, the entirety of the president's campaign, he will never again be above 50% in the polls. And that's not good. That is not good. And that's not good. What's the one sin a Republican president cannot commit? Incompetence.
Even his most enthusiastic supporters in the media can no longer hide the pure incompetence and malice of this cognitively impaired joke of a leader.
Incompetence. Not a joke.
Any American who wishes to get out of Afghanistan, we will find them and we will get them out. Ladies and gentlemen, they gave me a list here. The first person I was instructed to call on was Kelly O'Donnell of NBC.
He couldn't even deliver a coherent, prepared statement for a minute. And he blurts out that he has to go to the person he was instructed to call on. This is the leader of the free world. They tell him who to call on.
We are in greater danger. This nation is in peril because of the policy decisions of the Biden administration. You know, it's definitely incompetent. These people are incompetent, but that's being kind to them.
I told you for the first time in my career who I voted for last fall, and that was Donald Trump, and I told you why. Because I believe Joe Biden could not do the job, and I am right.
Joe Biden has been the most incompetent president in my lifetime on foreign policy, worse than Jimmy Carter.
Incompetence. Not a joke. Think about it. I'm not joking.
The public, more and more, sees this president, this vice president, the administration as a whole, as incompetent, over their head, out of touch with the pulse of the American people.
The level of stupidity and incompetence in this administration is just breathtaking, and it has to stop or we're going to lose our country. I mean, this is no joke. They're playing for real.
This administration is not only, as they say, tone deaf. This administration, as I said, has become dangerously incompetent.
We have a weak president, a weak administration. China respects strength, and they know that we don't have that strength at this point in time, and it's shameful.
I don't know if I should laugh or cry. I mean, it is so embarrassing that this man is president of the United States, and God bless Trump.
He is not fit to serve. He is not fit to serve. He's one of the most incompetent presidents in the history of the United States of America.
We have to demonstrate to the American people what we stand for, and there's two ways, in my view, to do this. We have to hold people accountable.
Accountability. That's the word of this week because we saw our nation and this administration's most troubling decisions up close and personal.
You have to hold people accountable for our failures.
Will there ever be accountability? Will anyone ever be held accountable for their epic failures? For example, the border, to COVID, to Afghanistan, to social media mayhem. The Biden administration's lack of accountability has been astounding to this point.
We have to hold people accountable. You have to hold people accountable for our failures. For the rest of the world looks at us, and when we don't hold our own people accountable, they wonder why they should follow us, our judgment.
Thanks to one man's decision, Joe Biden, Americans died and our national pride took a catastrophic hit.
I think the Afghanistan withdrawal was so incompetent.
Incompetence.
The complaint is about the execution of the withdrawal, not the actual decision to withdraw.
Number one, very simple. I would have left the military to last. You don't take out the military first. We took out our military first. A child would say you can't do that. We took the military out. And then we had thousands of people that were American people, some of whom are still there. A large number are still there.
President Biden left behind thousands of American citizens, green card holders, brave interpreters, and Afghan media reporters who worked with the United States.
The Democratic Party has to step up to the ball and acknowledge and demonstrate that it is capable of dealing with our national security and dealing with our public safety. We should not shy from that debate. We should hit that debate head on.
Why give the Taliban access to state-of-the-art equipment that they could either use to bolster their own defenses or to sell off to other countries?
This is, I think, a very good example of the difficult choices a president faces. At the end of the day, what the president has focused on all the way through here is to make decisions that were in the best national security interests of the American people. He has tried to do that.
This is the Taliban released these photos of the U.S. military equipment that they seized after we left it behind.
Decisions that were in the best national security interests of the American people.
Yup, saying they restored hundreds of U.S. military vehicles. Remember they told us they were disabled? And look at what we left behind in terms of hardware. The American people paid for this. You guys paid for, in many cases, your lives for this and your livelihoods for this. What are your thoughts about these photos?
A mismanagement of not only manning and equipment, and I think the Biden administration failed miserably and rushed to judgment, didn't listen to the leadership on the ground, and everything was silent, and we're not sharing any information, and this was the result.
From that perspective, he believes the decision he made in this context was the right decision. Yes.
We have to hold people accountable.
Biden failed totally on the pandemic, and he's now overseeing the greatest foreign policy humiliation in the history of the United States of America. This is the greatest humiliation I've ever seen. Biden's botched exit in Afghanistan is the most astonishing display of gross incompetence by a nation's leader, perhaps at any time that anybody's ever seen. Name another situation like this.
I've traveled the world on your behalf. I've been the leader of the Foreign Relations Committee for years. I'm the lead Democrat in foreign policy. I get to meet all these world leaders. They asked me today on television why I think the president should fire Rumsfeld, for the message it would send to the world, for right now.
In the first year of the Trump presidency, it was carnage in the cabinet. The National Security Advisor, the White House Chief of Staff, the Communications Director, the Health Secretary and others, all of them out in that first tumultuous year. Trump said, quote, "There are people who have done a bad job and I let them go. I say that's being smart," end quote. In Biden's first year, nobody has been fired. Despite failed policies and incompetence, the original Biden team is still very much in place.